Of all the women Ethan Hayes ever dated, I was the good one. But behind closed doors, I was anything but. He despised condoms, so I never kept any around. He complained I was too reserved, so I learned to push every boundary. His friends whispered among themselves over glasses of expensive whiskey. I just don't get it. Audrey seems so straight-laced. And you're saying she's wild in private? Ethan, man, going without protection is exciting, but what if she gets pregnant? She could trap you with a baby before you even have time to react. Ethan just drew slowly on his cigarette, smirking. She wouldn't dare. A thin cloud of smoke curled from his lips. Her family's traditional. And the Hayes family would never accept a child born out of wedlock. He wasn't wrong. A good girl wouldn't risk getting pregnant before marriage. Which is why I always made sure Ethan took his pill before we ever got close. Male birth control wasn't exactly easy to come by. I had to call in a huge favor from my best friend to get it. Zoe assured me the drug was effective, but warned of potential long-term effects on male sexual function. She gave me a worried look over her wine glass. Audrey, if you're really concerned about your man's equipment, my firm is working on a safer version. It's not out of trials yet, though. I smiled politely and said I'd wait. Inside, I was thinking, why should I care about Ethan Hayes' equipment? The alternative was facing an abortion alone in a sterile clinic. That was a thought too grim to entertain. So I kept using what I had for 6 months. Each time, right before things got heated, I'd hand him a pill, call it a vitamin, and watch him swallow it. Only then did I let him get close. I'll give him credit. Without that thin layer of latex, it felt infinitely better. He got his pleasure. And I, safe from consequences, got mine too. Ethan was naive in his own way. He believed I was hopelessly devoted, willing to do anything for him. In return, he showered me with extravagant gifts, a Patek Philippe one week, a Cartier necklace the next, a brand new Porsche the week after. I sold everything I could, funneling the money into investments. To keep appearances, I bought flawless replicas and stashed them in my closet. He never noticed. Back in the VIP lounge, the chatter continued. Seriously, Ethan, you've had her wrapped around your finger for years. Aren't you ever going to make it official? Come on, you know how it is. Audrey's perfect on paper, but she's not exactly Hayes level. One drunken friend, slurring his words, added, Hey, Ethan, when you're done with her, can I have a turn? He leered. Audrey's got that innocent look, but an insane body. Bet she's filthy in bed. The table went silent. The man turned pale, realizing what he'd said, and stumbled over an apology. Ethan chuckled softly, sipping his Macallan. Sure, you can have her. But she only ever looks at me. Laughter returned, clinking glasses and backslapping filling the lounge. Ethan Hayes, brilliant, handsome, untouchable. Of course, I was supposed to be in love with him. I stepped up to the velvet rope, heels clicking on the marble. Every head turned. Silence fell. I smiled brightly as I walked toward them. What are we talking about? One friend stammered. Audrey, hey. How long have you been here? Sliding into the booth beside Ethan, I draped my arm over his. My smile was lethal. Oh, about 5 minutes. Just touching up my lipstick by the door. Faces drained of color. No one dared speak. I pulled my hair into a ponytail, grabbed a champagne bottle, and poured it over the two men who had been the loudest. They didn't flinch, too afraid of Ethan. When the bottle was empty, they mumbled excuses and scattered. Ethan leaned back, expression flat. Done. Ethan probably thought I was just being dramatic. It wasn't an unreasonable assumption. In his eyes, I wasn't a person, I was a pet. Beautiful, obedient, trained to respond on cue. A pet that couldn't survive without its owner. I sat across from him in silence. Moments later, his phone buzzed. His posture shifted instantly. He stood, voice softening to something unusually gentle. Stay there. I'll be right over. After hanging up, he was halfway to the door before he remembered I was still there. He turned, his expression smooth and unreadable. You've been taking your pills, right? Of course. He was still worried I might trap him. What he didn't know was that while I was willing to play his game, I'd never be foolish enough to carry his child. I smiled sweetly. Always. He left without another glance. I exhaled, long and steady, when my own phone rang. It was Zoe. Audrey, something came up. I can't leave the office. Can you pick up your prescription yourself? Sure, I said automatically. Just before hanging up, I hesitated. Zoe, you don't have to get them for me anymore. There was silence, then a sharp sigh. Don't tell me you're actually planning to have his baby. Audrey, please. Be serious. For the first time that day, I smiled for real.
No.
It's not that. 2 days earlier, I'd received my acceptance letter from NYU's graduate program. It was time to finish what I'd started. And after 2 years of this performance, I'd made enough. Over $30 million tucked neatly away. Time to cash out and walk away. I had just picked up the pills at the hospital pharmacy when I turned a corner and nearly collided with him. Ethan wasn't alone. A delicate, pretty girl was pressed against his chest. When he froze, she looked up, pouting. What's wrong, baby? He didn't answer. His gaze dropped to the small paper bag in my hand, where the prescription label clearly read contraceptive. A flicker of something, guilt, maybe, passed across his face. You shouldn't take those too often, he muttered. They're not good for you. I gave him a calm smile. Thanks for the concern. The girl noticed his tone immediately. Her instincts flared. She stepped closer to him, plastering on a bright, possessive smile. Hi, I'm Amelia. Ethan's girlfriend. Girlfriend. The word landed like a punch. Still, when Ethan gave me a warning look, I understood perfectly. I smiled and extended my hand.
Audrey.
I've met Mr. Hayes a few times. Her shoulders relaxed, her grin softening into something genuine. This one's been driving me crazy, she said, nudging him playfully. My period's late, so we came in to check. She tilted her head at me. What about you, Audrey? Here for something similar? I opened my mouth to answer, but she beat me to it, eyes widening.
Oh, birth control, right?
Ugh, men can be such idiots. Those pills mess you up. You should really make him wear a condom. She shook her head with friendly outrage. If he really cared about you, he wouldn't want you to get hurt. I smiled faintly, though something inside me felt like it had gone numb. My lashes fluttered. I meant to say something, anything, but no words came out. By the time I recovered, Ethan already had his arm around Amelia, steering her down the hallway. She waved at me with that same naive smile. Bye, Audrey. Nice meeting you. I stood there for a while, then quietly made my way to the underground parking lot. Inside the car, the dim light reflected off the leather steering wheel. My hands rested on it, motionless. Maybe I wasn't as calm as I wanted to be. Maybe I hadn't truly stopped caring about Ethan. After all, he'd been the one to pull me out of the darkest chapter of my life. My family wasn't poor, not even close. My parents were respected teachers, practical and upright to a fault. They provided everything, except freedom. Their love came wrapped in control. Every decision I made had to pass their approval. When I got accepted into NYU, they hacked into my application portal and changed my enrollment to a local university. After graduation, they blocked my job offer in New York and arranged a stable government position for me back home. All under the guise of protecting me. The day I refused to show up for that job was the first time I truly disobeyed them. With $10,000 in savings, I bought a one-way train ticket to New York. On my first day wandering the NYU campus, I met him, Ethan Hayes. He saw me, really saw me, in a way no one else had. He helped me find a job, introduced me to a lifestyle I couldn't have imagined, luxury, risk, adrenaline. He taught me to skydive, to dive, to climb, to defy fear. He made me feel alive. For the first time, I knew what freedom felt like, and I mistook that feeling for love. I fell for him, completely and foolishly. But love, when one-sided, becomes a slow poison. It took me months to realize it was killing me, and even longer to gather the courage to leave. 6 months, to be exact. I've never been decisive. That's probably why my parents had controlled me for so long. And Ethan, well, he was devastatingly handsome and obscenely rich. By the time I made up my mind to go, I already had $30 million in assets quietly tucked away. A fair exchange, I thought. I lost a man, but I gained independence. That night, I curled up on the couch, half watching some ridiculous reality show. On screen, a woman screamed, "Your boyfriend has a girlfriend." I looked up just as Ethan walked through the door. "So," I asked casually, "how's your new girlfriend?" He pressed his fingers to his temples, looking irritated. "You're starting to act out, Audrey." That was my cue to stop talking. Ethan hated drama. The only reason he'd kept me around this long was because I was convenient, quiet, compliant. I bit my lip. "I drew you a bath," I murmured. He disappeared into the bathroom. The TV droned on, meaningless noise. I went to bed. Sometime later, as I drifted between sleep and waking, a familiar hand found my waist. His touch was warm, insistent, claiming. And I let him. I tried to push him away, but Ethan was patient, his voice a low, soothing murmur against my ear. Relax. I'll use a condom, he whispered. You won't need those pills anymore, he added. For a moment, I was fully alert. Was he finally feeling guilty? But the reality was, I wasn't the one at risk, and his wearing protection wouldn't help me. It would only ruin the thrill. I was about to launch into a carefully crafted speech, meant to tug at his heart and perhaps earn a bigger severance when we eventually parted ways. Then his phone rang. It was on the nightstand, loud in the quiet room. I could hear everything. Baby, I just took a test. I think it's positive. Amelia's voice trembled. Can you come over? Ethan's eyes flicked toward me in the darkness, then away. I'll be there. He hung up, leaving without another glance, his only words, I won't be back tonight. The door didn't even close behind him. I muttered curses under my breath, rolled over, and tried to sleep. But sleep refused. Long ago, I'd been pregnant with Ethan's child. One night, overwhelmed by work, I had forgotten my pill. By the time I realized, my body had already started changing. The mix of excitement and terror was dizzying. I decided to tell him, thinking we could handle it together. I found him in his home office. The door was ajar. He was on the phone, calm and indifferent. Your girl is pregnant? Just give her money and tell her to terminate it. Why ask me? He paused. Mark, does it matter if you feel bad? Is her family going to accept an illegitimate child? Get real. I knew what the question had been before he answered. Would he do the same if it were me? His answer was cold. No. Audrey is perfect, but my child won't be hers. I'd give her money. She'd have an abortion, and that would be it. He always separated love and marriage. I was obedient, beautiful, perfect for his convenience. But a wife? A lifelong partner? Never. I stood outside that office and cried silently, the truth burning into me. Ethan Hayes had never loved me. After gathering myself, I called in a family emergency and took a week off. I went to the clinic alone, every inch of me aching, knowing it was the only right choice for myself, and for the life I carried. But Amelia was different. Her innocence was effortless, her life sheltered. The baby in her womb had already claimed Ethan's fierce attention. For a moment, I felt lost. What had my 3 years meant? I drifted in and out of consciousness, finally falling asleep. The next morning, Ethan hadn't returned. I reached for my phone to send a fake concern message. Instead, a new friend request appeared. A kitten grinned from the profile picture. 3 words in the message, Amelia Sinclair. She wasted no time. Audrey, I've done some digging. I sipped my coffee, eyes fixed on the typing bubble. I didn't respond. More messages followed. I know you've been involved with Ethan. You're smart, I see that. But he and I are getting engaged soon. We're from the same world. If you're smart, you'll leave quietly. Don't make it messy. If you don't, I won't be so kind. It clicked. Amelia Sinclair. Heiress. The reason Ethan had been so attentive wasn't love. It was alliances, power, and family connections. I set my coffee down and typed back. 10 million. Without hesitation, she agreed. She asked for my account details, promising the transfer within 3 days. The only stipulation, I was never to be seen by Ethan Hayes again. I accepted gladly. My exit was already planned. When Ethan returned, he brought a gift. A red silk nightgown, scandalously sheer, paired with a matching ruby necklace. Try it on, he said, eager. I want to see it fit. The vibrant red made my skin glow. The gown covered little, leaving most of me exposed. A flicker of desire crossed his eyes, fleeting but unmistakable. I steadied myself. Ethan, I said softly, we need to talk. He nodded, regaining composure. I have something to tell you, too. Okay. You first, I replied. He paused, carefully weighing each word. Audrey, if I were to get married, what would you do? I froze. What would I do? Take the last of his money and run. But I couldn't say that. So I faked tears, trembling voice. Are you leaving me? He brushed a tear from my cheek, a look of pity in his eyes. No. But I'll need you to be patient for a while. A wave of calculated hysteria washed over me. I began to cry properly. I won't be your secret. I refuse to be your mistress. He must have thought I was ungrateful. That night, he slept in the study, giving me space to cool down. I couldn't have been happier. Scrolling Instagram, I stumbled on Amelia's latest post, a picture on a pristine white sand beach. What do you do when your boyfriend is too possessive to let you wear a bikini? Help. Her birthday wish, a Maldives vacation with him tomorrow. Her post dripped with gushing affection. I couldn't complain. His obsession was proof of love, after all. And a sundress would do just fine for my own plans. I shifted, trying to move away, but Ethan only tightened his hold, his breath warm against my ear. Relax, he whispered. I'll use protection this time. Then, softer still. You don't need to take those pills anymore. For a moment, I froze. Was this his conscience finally catching up to him? But he didn't know I wasn't the one taking pills in the first place. And if he used a condom, my plan would lose its purpose. I was about to give him a carefully rehearsed speech, something tender, tragic, designed to pull at his guilt and maybe secure a generous goodbye gift, when his phone rang. The sound was sharp in the quiet room. From where I lay, I could hear everything. Ethan, a woman's voice said breathlessly. I just took a test. I think it's positive. There was a pause. Can you come over? Please. It was Amelia. Ethan's eyes flicked to me in the darkness before he turned away. I'm coming, he said quickly, voice gentle. Then he stood, grabbed his keys, and left with a curt, I won't be home tonight. He didn't even close the door behind him. I stared at the ceiling, cursing under my breath. Sleep never came. No one knew that once, I had been pregnant with Ethan's child too. It happened during a brutal work stretch when I barely remembered to eat, much less take my pill. By the time I noticed the symptoms, it was too late. I was terrified, elated, completely unprepared. After days of uncertainty, I decided to tell him. I went to his office. The door was slightly open. Ethan was on the phone, his tone as casual as ever. Your girl's pregnant? Just pay her off and get it handled. You're not seriously considering keeping it, are you? He laughed quietly. Be realistic, Mark. You think your family will accept a bastard child? Don't be stupid. There was a pause. Then a faint voice on the other end must have asked, what if it were Audrey? Ethan didn't hesitate.
No.
Audrey's fine. I'm happy with her. But my heir won't come from her. If she ever got pregnant, I'd give her money. She'd take care of it and we'd move on. I stood outside that door until the call ended, silent tears sliding down my face. That day, I learned exactly where I stood. I wasn't his future. I was a placeholder. A woman to warm his bed and fill his time. Never his home. I took time off work and went to the clinic alone. Every step hurt. But I knew it was the right choice. Now, years later, another woman carried his child. Amelia Sinclair. The innocent, well-bred heiress. The woman his family would actually approve of. I rolled onto my side and closed my eyes.
So this was how it felt to be replaced.
When I woke the next morning, he still hadn't come home. And waiting on my phone was a friend request from an account with a kitten as its profile picture. The name, Amelia Sinclair. Her first message came quickly. Audrey, I've done some digging. I sipped my coffee, watching the typing bubble flicker on and off. I know you've been with Ethan for a while. You're smart, I'll give you that. But he and I are getting engaged soon. We belong to the same world. If you're wise, you'll disappear quietly. Don't make this messy. If you do, I won't be so kind.
Ah.
So this was the heiress. It made sense now. Ethan's sudden sweetness, the gifts, the late nights at work. He wasn't chasing love, he was chasing pedigree. I set my mug down, typed a single line, and hit send. 10 million. She agreed within minutes. She wanted me gone permanently. In return, I'd receive the full amount within 3 days. That was fine with me. I'd already decided to leave. When Ethan returned that night, he brought a gift, a box wrapped in black silk. Inside was a red lace nightgown and a matching ruby necklace. Try it on, he said, eyes gleaming. The fabric barely covered me. His gaze darkened. Ethan, I said softly, we need to talk. He stilled, expression unreadable. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. I waited. If I were to get married, he began slowly, what would you do? My mind went blank. I wanted to tell him I'd take the money and vanish. Instead, I forced a tremor into my voice. Are you leaving me? He sighed, brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Of course not. Just be patient, all right? I gave him the performance of my life, trembling, crying, begging not to be his secret anymore. He left me to cool off in the bedroom while he slept in the study.
Perfect.
The next day, I saw Amelia's new post online, a photo of her on a beach, sunlight in her hair. What do you do when your boyfriend won't let you wear a bikini? The caption was all hearts and laughter. She mentioned a birthday trip to the Maldives. They were leaving tomorrow. I smiled faintly, then deleted and blocked her number. By the next evening, I had my resignation letter ready. When HR asked if Mr. Hayes had approved, I lied without hesitation.
He has.
Outside the glass doors, I texted Ethan for the last time. I know about the engagement. Let's end this properly. Then I blocked him everywhere. A new life was waiting. The transfer came the next morning. $1 million upfront. Ethan's message followed shortly after. Out of town for a week. Take care of yourself. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed everything that truly belonged to me, 2 suitcases, no more. By lunchtime, I was clinking glasses with Zoe. To new beginnings, she said. New beginnings, I echoed. Later that night, Amelia posted a photo from the Maldives. I didn't even bother to look. I just hit delete. The next day, I quit my job and cut the last of my ties. For once, the air felt lighter. A few grueling weeks into grad school, Zoe called. Audrey, I'm dragging you out. I found a club with male models for servers. It's called Verge. You'll thank me later. So that's how I ended up in a velvet booth under flashing lights, surrounded by men who looked like they'd been sculpted from marble. Zoe was practically drooling. This one has abs from another dimension, she said, pointing. And this one has that dangerous CEO vibe you love. I sipped my drink, unimpressed.
She groaned.
You can't still be thinking about Ethan Hayes. I shook my head.
No.
Just not interested in men right now. After a few minutes, she waved the models away and leaned in. So, he never tried to contact you? No, I said quietly. And that's good. A mischievous glint sparked in her eyes. Still, if he ever found out those pills you gave him might have messed him up for good. I laughed dryly. Then I'd better start running. She burst out laughing. Seriously though, what if it did affect him? I swirled my drink. I'd just find a new man. The words had barely left my mouth when a familiar voice, low and furious, spoke behind me. So that's what you do? I froze. Ethan. He loomed behind me, expression unreadable. All that sweetness, all that obedience, just an act, wasn't it? Before I could respond, he grabbed my arm and dragged me out. The Maybach tore through the city until we stopped on a deserted road by the river. He killed the engine and turned to me, eyes burning. You've gotten bold, he said coldly. Breaking up, quitting, disappearing, grad school, and drugging me? My throat was dry. I reached for the door, but his hand caught my wrist like a vice. Where do you think you're going now? He growled. I met his eyes.
Ethan.
Just let me go. He didn't answer. His jaw tightened, eyes bloodshot, something almost desperate in them. His voice was raw, hoarse, strange. Audrey, do you know what I thought the moment I got that text? He asked. I thought I had to come back. I had to see you, hear it from your own lips. Even after Amelia told me you'd taken the money and run, that you were nothing but a gold digger. Even then, I couldn't believe it. 3 years you wouldn't throw that away for 10 million. I told myself you were angry, upset about the engagement. I flew back immediately, went to the penthouse. You were gone. I had people looking for you everywhere. And in those few days after I calmed down, I realized something. I have everything. Why was I bending to Amelia Sinclair for some business deal worth millions? It meant nothing to me. The person I love is you. His voice softened. Audrey, please. Stop being angry. We can forget this ever happened. We can go back. When you finish your master's, we'll get married. A beautiful home, a happy life, to baby. I looked at him, calm. My heart, it was empty. I had survived the hardest part alone. I didn't need him. I'm listening, I said evenly. Then I told him everything. The child I'd lost, the cold operating room, the months it took to stop loving him, and how I had decided he wasn't worthy of my heart. You can have your family with Amelia. Let me go. Tears streamed down my face. He watched silently, hands twitching as if he wanted to wipe them away, but didn't. Audrey, don't cry, he whispered. Then he admitted it. Amelia wasn't pregnant. It had been a setup. She had drugged him once, and that was the lie he had spun. I nodded faintly. Can I go now? His body stiffened. He forced a strained, twisted smile. Don't be like this. We don't have to end up like this. I exhaled slowly. We loved each other once. Let's not destroy the good memories. I stepped out of the car. The moment my back turned, I wiped my face. Relief washed over me. I had escaped. I had loved him once, but that fire had died long ago. Once I give up on someone, I give nothing back. Back in my dorm, Zoe's phone calls and messages flooded in. The last one threatened the police if she didn't hear from me in 5 minutes. I'm fine, I said quickly. You sure? He let you go that easily? Have more faith in me. We planned a proper catch-up later, and I threw myself into work. Class and lab absorbed me completely. One afternoon, exhausted, I stumbled out of the lab, straight into Ethan. My body tensed. Your advisor's an old friend of my father's, he said quickly. I was visiting. Thought I'd see you. He held out yellow roses. I sighed. What are you doing, Ethan? He dropped the flowers. Can I take you to dinner? I shook my head firmly. I'm busy. Classes, lab work. He pressed his lips together. Okay, whenever you're free then. Later, in the student union, I spotted her, Amelia Sinclair. I already left him, I said quickly. You're not getting the money back. Amelia rolled her eyes. I'll never understand why he chose you. I smiled sweetly. Funny, isn't it? You can't compete. She tried to tempt me again. Another 10 million, a man of her choosing. I laughed, tossed my hair, and walked past. No thanks. I don't need it. The thrill of independence shot through me. Money gave me freedom. The semester blurred by. Winter break arrived. Ethan showed up a few times with gifts, all refused, all coldly dismissed. But nothing prepared me for seeing him at my parents' house, awkward in a floral fleece, holding groceries. My parents beamed, oblivious to the tension. Audrey, you're home. Ethan's eyes flickered with something like guilt. I froze. We broke up a long time ago, I said, icy. Awkward silence. My parents didn't know what to say. Ethan stayed silent, chopping vegetables, avoiding my gaze. Eventually, my mom suggested he stay for New Year's Eve dinner. I didn't argue. Surprisingly, he was perfect. Cooking, cleaning, bustling around the kitchen. After dinner, the dishes done, fireworks erupted outside. I watched the explosions, not as a child, not as a girl, but as someone who had endured and survived. Ethan was across from me, watching me instead. Snow began falling. White, fat flakes drifting down. I finally spoke. You should leave first thing in the morning. His eyes reddened, voice raspy. I never thought we'd end up here. Why can't you just give me one more chance? I turned to the window, watching snow pile on the sill. I already gave you chances. Time and again. And each time, your actions reminded me I didn't matter. I don't love you anymore. Let me go, and you too. He stared, blank, until a single tear escaped. His voice broke. I just want to say, I'm sorry to the Audrey I used to know. I hope she never forgives me. It was okay. After all, he had given me over 30 million and pulled me from the darkest time of my life. Money, it turned out, was a powerful kind of salvation. The next morning, I noticed the guest room empty. The blankets folded perfectly. Outside, I saw him walking away through the snow. He turned. Our eyes met. My phone rang. Happy New Year, Audrey, his voice said, deep, familiar, impossibly steady.